Welcome back. We are continuing our journey through the classics, and today we're tackling a source stack that feels, well, honestly, it feels a little uncomfortably relevant to my life right now.
It's the one everyone asks for, eventually. It is the universal struggle.
It is, because think about it. We are taught from the time we're in kindergarten to have a plan, map it out. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, yeah, the 5-year plan.
The 5-year plan. Where do you see yourself? We have business plans, Gantt charts, quarterly goals. We are absolutely addicted to the idea that if we just structure the future enough, we can control it.
Well, structure is safety, or at least it's the illusion of safety. You know, it makes us feel like we have our hands on the steering wheel.
Exactly. But then reality hits, and it's that old military adage, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Or in our case, no plan survives a sudden budget cut, or a toddler with the flu, or just a Tuesday where the internet goes down and the car won't start.
Or a global pandemic. Or a flat tire. Or a sudden shift in the market. I mean, the list of things that can break a plan is literally infinite.
Right. So the core paradox we're wrestling with today is this. How do you stay committed to a goal? How do you keep your ambition and your drive when the specific path you pick to get there is suddenly violently blocked?
Yeah.
Do you smash through the wall and burn yourself out? Do you give up and go home? Or is there a third way?
There is absolutely a third way. And to find it, we're going to have to combine some very different sources. We're looking at ancient Chinese military strategy, specifically Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
Okay.
We're blending that with classical Greek philosophy, Aristotle and the Stoics. And then we're going to ground it all in modern behavioral science, specifically looking at habits and environment design.
It's an eclectic mix. But the central metaphor, the thing that ties it all together, comes from Sun Tzu.
Water.
Water. Now, I have to admit, when I hear "be like water,"
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes roll my eyes a little. It sounds a bit like a bumper sticker.
I get that.
Or it sounds like just go with the flow and have no backbone.
That is a very, very common misconception. We will definitely clear that up. Sun Tzu's water isn't passive. It's incredibly powerful. He says water has no constant shape. It shapes its course according to the ground. That's the energy we're bringing to this.
I love that image, but I also want to challenge it a bit later because in the heat of the moment, being formless feels really, really scary.
It is terrifying, but it's also the only way to win.
Good.
Yeah.
Before we get into the physics of water and the philosophy of the leaden rule, which is a fascinating concept, I have a quick request. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It really helps us keep these coming.
It does. Okay, so our mission today is to move from rigid planning, which implies that if the plan breaks, we broke to disciplined flexibility.
Disciplined flexibility, that is the key phrase for today.
Let's start with a definition, because when I hear adapt, my brain sometimes hears compromise or give up. Based on the architecture of adaptive discipline source we have, what are we actually talking about?
That is the critical distinction. Most people think adaptation means lowering the bar. You know, oh, I can't run a marathon, so I'll just sit on the couch and watch a movie about running.
Right.
That's not adaptation, that's capitulation. That's quitting.
And we're not here to talk about how to quit gracefully?
No. Adaptation, in the strategic sense, is keeping the objective stable while changing the method.
Keep the goal, change the path.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you're driving home to see your family for dinner, that is the objective. That's the goal. And the main highway is closed due to an accident. What do?
I check the GPS, I take the side streets, I might even cut through a neighborhood I don't know well.
Do you say, well, the road is closed, I guess I live in my sedan now?
Hopefully not. That would be absurd.
Of course not, because the destination home is non-negotiable. The route, however, is totally negotiable. Adaptation is simply the ability to switch routes without losing your mind.
Okay, but you added a key part there, without losing your mind.
Yes. And this is where the Stoics come in. To find that side street, you need a calm tone. If you're screaming at the steering wheel because the highway is closed, you might miss the detour sign. You're so clouded by anger or panic that you can't see the new options.
That reminds me of a great analogy from Marcus Aurelius that was in our reading. He talks about the difference between a dancer and a wrestler.
Yes. This is one of the most powerful images in Stoic literature. Marcus Aurelius writes that the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing.
Which is interesting because I think most of us want life to be a dance. We want it to be elegant and predictable.
We do. We desperately do. Think about a dancer. A ballroom dancer. They're following a set rhythm. They have a partner who is cooperating. They learn the steps in a class. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. But it relies on the environment being perfectly controlled.
It's choreographed. Everyone knows their part.
Correct. If the music stops, or the floor is slippery, or the partner trips, the dance is ruined. The plan fails. But a wrestler steps onto the mat expecting resistance.
They expect to be shoved, to be thrown off balance.
They have to stand ready for a sudden, violent, unexpected force. They have to keep their footing even when they're being pushed or pulled in a direction they did not anticipate. They have to adapt their center of gravity instantly.
So if you go into a wrestling match expecting a waltz, you're going to get crushed.
That is a perfect way to put it. You are stepping into a chaotic world. The market, your workplace, your family life thinking. Everyone knows the choreography, and when they don't, you get hurt.
And that brings us to the core problem with rigidity. We call it the brittle branch concept.
The brittle branch.
Explain this, because intuitively, we think hard equals strong. We want to be rock solid.
Yeah, that's a natural assumption. Imagine a dry, dead branch. It's hard. It feels strong in your hand. It doesn't droop. But if you apply pressure, if you try to bend it, what happens?
It snaps instantly.
It snaps immediately. It has no give. A plan that cannot change is a brittle branch. In The Art of War, Sun Tzu warns about leaders who are too attached to a specific way of doing things. He calls this one of the dangerous faults.
We're going to get into those faults later. There are 5 of them. But this idea of attachment is interesting. It's almost like an ego thing, right? I said I would do it this way, so I must do it this way.
It is purely ego, and it's dangerous. Because if you're obsessed with the specific tactic you wrote down on paper, you're easily trapped. The enemy or life or the market just has to block that one tactic, and you're finished.
You're out of moves.
You have no moves left.
Yeah.
You're standing there holding a broken branch.
So if the brittle branch is the problem, let's look at the solution. You mentioned something in the intro called the leaden rule. Now, when I read this in the notes, I thought it was a typo. I thought it was the golden rule.
No, the leading rule. It comes from Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, and it's a fascinating bit of architectural history that applies directly to modern strategy.
Okay, set the scene for us. Why lead?
So we are in ancient Lesbos. The masons there had a unique problem. They were building walls, but they weren't using modern factory-cut rectangular objects. They were using rough stones from the island, irregular shapes, curves, bumps.
Okay, so you're building a puzzle wall, not a Lego wall.
Exactly. A perfect analogy. Now imagine trying to measure a round, bumpy stone with a rigid steel ruler.
You can't. The ruler is straight, the stone is curved. You'd get a gap, the measurement would be wrong, you couldn't find the center, it's useless.
The ruler stays straight, but it is useless. It's the brittle branch again. So the masons of Lesbos created a ruler made of lead.
Lead, because it's a soft metal.
Right, it was pliable. They could bend the lead ruler around the curves of the stone to get an accurate measurement of the shape. Then they could cut the next stone to fit perfectly.
Oh, I see. The ruler bends to the shape of the stone.
Right. But, and here is the absolute key to this metaphor, so please don't miss this, it is still a ruler. It still has inches and centimeters on it. It hasn't stopped being a standard of measurement. It has just adapted its shape to fit the reality of the stone.
That is the disciplined flexibility we're talking about. The stone is the circumstance. The ruler is our method.
Yes. The method must mold to the circumstances, but the standard of excellence, the measurement, remains the measure. You don't say, oh, this stone is weird, let's build a crooked wall. You say, this stone is weird, let me adjust my tool so I can still build a straight wall.
That is a subtle difference, but it is huge. It's the difference between lowering standards and adjusting tactics.
Precisely. And that connects right back to Sun Tzu. He has this line, do not repeat the tactics that gained you one victory. Let your methods be regulated by the infinite variety of circumstances.
Regulated by the infinite variety of circumstances. That sounds exhausting, honestly.
It can be. It requires attention. It requires you to be present.
It means I can't just copy-paste what I did last year or last week.
You cannot. Sun Tzu is telling us that just because something worked yesterday does not mean it will work today. The context has changed. The market has changed. Your team has changed. You have changed.
This sounds a lot like the OODA loop. We've touched on this in previous conversations, but it feels central here. If we're going to be like that lead ruler, we need a mechanism to do the bending.
The OODA loop is the engine of adaptation. It's the how-to, OODA. Observe, orient, decide, act. It was developed by Colonel John Boyd, a fighter pilot, to explain why some pilots won dogfights and others got shot down.
Walk us through it in this context, because usually we just think about the act part.
That is the problem. Most people just do decide, act, they have a plan, decide, and they do it, act, and they just keep doing it.
And if it fails?
They just act harder, they push the gas pedal. But the OODA loop says, no, start with observe. Look at the feedback. What is actually happening? Is the wall moving? Is the client happy? Is the strategy actually generating leads?
Orient.
This is the magic step. This is where the leaden rule lives. Orient means updating your mental map. It's the moment you realize, oh, the map says there is a bridge here, but I am looking at a river with no bridge. If you don't reorient, you drive into the river because the map told you to.
You have to accept the reality on the ground before you can make a new decision.
Yeah.
Have to admit the map is wrong.
Yes. You have to let the ruler bend. Then you decide on a new course. Maybe building a raft, maybe swimming, maybe finding a ford. And then you act. If you skip the observe and orient phases, you're just repeating yesterday's act. And if the territory has changed, that old action is going to fail.
Okay, so we know we need to change. We know we shouldn't be a brittle branch. But here is the part I struggle with, and I think a lot of people do. How do we know when to change?
The timing.
Yes, because sometimes things are just hard, and you need to push through. Grit is a virtue too. I feel like sometimes I give up too early calling it adaptation, when really I just needed to push harder for one more day.
Yeah.
How do I know the difference between adapting and flaking out?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When is it adaptation and when is it quitting? We can look at the mechanics of change from our source stack. There are specific triggers, almost like dashboard warning lights, that tell you it is time to engage the leaden rule.
Okay, let's list them. What triggers a smart change?
The first one is the most obvious. New information.
Hard facts. Indisputable.
You learn something today that makes yesterday's plan obsolete. Maybe you find out a competitor has launched a product that makes yours irrelevant. Or you find out the venue for your event has flooded.
Right, you don't keep planning a wedding in a flooded hall just because that was the plan.
Exactly. The facts on the ground have changed. That is an automatic trigger. Second is rising friction.
This one is more subtle. This is a feeling, right?
It is. Things are getting harder, not easier. You feel like you're forcing a square peg into a round hole. If every single step of the plan requires maximum effort and you're getting minimal results, that's a signal.
It's the law of diminishing returns. Like if I'm emailing a client 10 times and they aren't responding, sending an 11th email is probably not the move. That friction is a message.
Correct. The friction is telling you the path is blocked. Stop pushing. Third is repeated stalls. You are hitting the same wall twice. If you try a tactic, fail, regroup, try the exact same tactic, and fail again, you are not being persistent, you are being rigid.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Precisely. And the fourth trigger is misalignment. The action you are taking is not producing the result you intended. You're working hard, you're busy, you're exhausted, but the needle isn't moving toward the goal. You're spinning your wheels.
Okay, so those are the triggers to change the method. But we said earlier that adaptation isn't changing everything. If I change my goal every time it gets hard, I'm just drifting. I'll never get anywhere.
Yes. If everything changes, that is chaos. That is panic. For adaptation to work, you need anchors. You need things that never bend, even when the ruler does.
What are our anchors? What holds us steady?
First and foremost, the ethics, your integrity and values. Sun Tzu talks about the internal bulwark. No matter how desperate the situation, you do not compromise your character.
Right. We don't cheat just because the game got hard. We don't lie to the stakeholders just to buy time. That's a non-negotiable.
Because if you lose your credibility, you have lost the war, even if you win the battle. Second, the objective. In military terms, this is the sovereign's command, the ultimate aim. If the goal is to win the war, you might lose a battle, you might retreat, you might flank, but the goal winning the war never changes.
So the why stays fixed.
The why is your North Star. And the third constant.
Let me guess. The calm tone.
The calm tone. This is the general's heart. You must keep your internal state steady. If you are frantic, you cannot mold the lead ruler. You will just bend it out of shape. You need a steady hand to measure an irregular stone.
And finally,
simple signals. Clear communication. When plans change, confusion spikes. Your team gets scared. Your family gets confused. You need to keep responsibilities and signals very simple and very clear so everyone knows what the new play is.
I think we need to put up some guardrails here too, because there is a dark side to adaptation, isn't there? People can use that word to justify Some pretty bad behavior.
There is, absolutely. We have to clarify what adaptation is not.
It is not manipulation.
Correct. Sun Tzu talks about deception in warfare, which we'll get into in a future conversation, but true adaptation in leadership and life is not about lying to yourself or your team. It is not about spinning a failure as a success. It's about honestly acknowledging the obstacle and adjusting.
And it is not impulsive switching.
This is a big one. Some people call themselves adaptive, but really they're just distracted. They react emotionally to every little bump. Oh, this is hard. Let's try something else. That is not adaptation. That is flakiness.
It's a lack of commitment.
It is. True adaptation is a measured adjustment backed by proof actions.
Proof actions. I like that. It means you do something small to prove the new path works before you bet the farm on it.
Exactly. You test the new route before you tell everyone to follow you.
Okay, let's get practical. We have the theory, we have the water metaphor, we have the leaden rule. But how does this look on a Tuesday morning? Let's look at 3 specific scenarios where this applies. Work, relationships, and habits.
Let's start with work. This is where most of us feel the brittle branch snap.
Scenario 1.
Yeah.
The project blocker. Here's the context. You're leading a project. You have a deadline. The team is motivated, and suddenly you hit a massive unforeseen wall. Maybe the budget gets cut in half, or your lead engineer quits, or the software has a critical bug that no one saw coming.
Right. The rigid response, the instinctive response for many of us is to scream at the wall, to force the original timeline, to make everyone work weekends to do the impossible. We said we would launch on the 1st, so we launch on the 1st.
The brittle branch approach. It's all about willpower and brute force.
Right. And what happens? You launch a broken product that damages your brand, or your team quits from burnout and you lose your best people. You kept the plan, but you missed the real goal of shipping something good.
So the adaptive pivot, according to Sun Tzu, is turning the devious into the direct. How do we apply that here? It sounds kind of cryptic.
It means you find the clever path. You do not force the original timeline if the resources are gone. That's suicide. You adjust the scope. You get the team together and you clarify the immediate next step. You ask, what is the absolute core value of this project? What is the one thing we must deliver? And you deliver that perfectly.
So if the goal was to launch a full website with 10 features and you lose half your team, adaptation isn't launching late. It might be launching a perfect landing page with one key feature on time.
Exactly. You keep the aim delivering value to the customer steady, but you change the scope of the launch. You navigate around the blockage rather than trying to blast through it. You are the water flowing around the rock.
Love that. Okay, scenario 2, relationships. This one is tricky. Let's say tension is rising. You're in an argument with a partner or a negotiation with a colleague is heating up. Voices are getting raised.
The rigid reaction is to dig in, to match the aggression. If they yell, you yell louder. If they make a demand, you make a counter demand. It's Newton's 3rd law. For every action, an equal and opposite reaction.
And that usually ends in an explosion or a stalemate.
It does. Sun Tzu advises to avoid the enemy when their spirit is keen.
Wait, avoid them? That sounds like running away from the problem.
It is not running away. It is timing. It means do not engage the emotional spike head on. When someone is angry, their spirit is keen, they are full of energy, but it is hostile, irrational energy. You cannot reason with an adrenaline spike. It's like trying to reason with a thunderstorm.
So the pivot here is to shift the timing.
Yes. Take a break. Step away. Say something like, this is important and I want to get it right. Let's talk about this in 20 minutes after we've both had a chance to cool down. You shift the timing and you soften the tone. The source material references a proverb here. A gentle answer turns away wrath.
That's the water principle again. Water puts out fire. It doesn't fight fire with more fire.
Exactly. You keep the boundary clear. You do not accept abuse, but you change the method of engagement. You switch from a shouting match to a calm conversation at a later time. You are bending the ruler, which is the timing, to fit the stone, which is their anger.
Okay, scenario 3, habits. This is where atomic habits really shines. The context. You have a routine. You go to the gym every morning at 6 o'clock. You're on a roll. But then life gets busy. You have a huge deadline. The kids are sick. You miss a workout. Then you miss another.
The rigid response is to rely on willpower. I just need to try harder. I'm being lazy. I will wake up an hour earlier tomorrow even though I'm exhausted. But you're tired, so you hit snooze, you miss it again, and then you feel like a failure.
The shame spiral. I'm not disciplined. I'm weak. I guess I'm just not a gym person.
Right. And then you quit altogether. The adaptive pivot is, do not rely on willpower. Willpower is a battery and it runs out. Adjust the environment.
Environment design. This is huge.
It's everything. If you are missing the gym because you're tired in the morning, change the method. Pack your gym bag the night before and put it in the car. Put your running shoes right in front of the door so you literally trip over them. Or change the time. Maybe this week you go at lunch.
Or reduce the friction. Lower the bar to get started.
Exactly. Make the new behavior the path of least resistance. If the goal is health, and the method 1-hour gym session at 5 a.m. isn't arcing right now, adapt the method. Do 20 minutes of bodyweight exercises at home. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to stay in the game. Keep the baseline consistency even if the intensity drops.
That is a key phrase. Keep the baseline consistency. You don't stop working out, you just change what the workout looks like. You know, break the chain.
That is the leaden rule. The ruler bends, but it still measures. You're still casting a vote for I am a healthy person, even if the vote is smaller that day.
Okay, this is so useful. I want to give our listeners a tool they can use right now, a practical thing. We call this the adaptation loop. It's a mental checklist to run when things go wrong.
This is a great exercise to walk through. Imagine you're facing a problem right now, a blocked path. Something isn't working.
Okay, step one. What do we do first?
Step 1, name the objective in one sentence. You have to anchor the aim. What are you actually trying to achieve? Not what is the plan, but what is the goal? Be brutally simple. I want to finish this report. I want to have a peaceful evening with my family.
Step 2.
Step 2, name what changed in the environment. Be specific. Acknowledge reality without judgment. My budget was cut by half. My knee hurts when I run. The client changed their mind on the core feature. Don't wish it was different. Name what it is.
Step 3.
Step 3, identify what is no longer working. This is where you kill the zombie tactic. Admit that the old way is dead. Trying to wake up at 4 a.m. to work out is not working. Following up with this client by email is not working. You have to say it out loud.
Step 4.
Step 4, choose one adjustment that lowers friction. This is the water principle. Find the flow. What is the easiest possible way to still make progress toward the objective you named in step 1? Not the best way, not the perfect way, the easiest way.
Step 5.
Step 5, choose one signal or boundary that keeps it clean. This maintains order and clarity. If you're changing the project plan, the signal is, I will send a one-sentence email to my team explaining the change. If you're changing your diet, the boundary is, I will not have junk food in the house.
Step 6.
Step 6, choose one proof action you will do today, not tomorrow. Today, right now, you need momentum. I will do 5 push-ups. I will draft the email. I will move the running shoes. Something small.
And the closing step.
Calmly recommit to the aim. Take a breath. Remind yourself that the goal is still the goal. You are not failing. You are navigating. You are just taking a different path.
I love that. It takes the panic and the emotion out of the change. It turns it into a logical process.
It makes you the architect of your circumstances rather than the victim of them.
Now, even with a checklist, things can go wrong. Our own minds can be the biggest obstacle. Sun Tzu identified 5 dangerous faults for a general. These are basically the 5 ways we screw up adaptation.
These are timeless. They apply just as much to a CEO or a parent as they do to a general leading an army. These are bugs in the human operating system.
Let's run through them. Mistake 1, recklessness.
This is haste. It's moving without thinking. You hit an obstacle and you just react. You floor the gas pedal. This is often driven by a desire to do something, anything, to relieve the anxiety of the stall.
And the fix for that?
Slow down. Deliberate before moving. Take a breath. Remember, water doesn't rush if it doesn't have to. It pools, it waits, it assesses, then it flows. Pause.
Mistake 2, cowardice.
This is the fear of modification. This is being afraid to change the plan because you think it admits failure. Or you're afraid your boss will get mad if you suggest a detour. It's the fear of looking like you didn't have it all figured out.
The fix.
Accept that the plan must die for the goal to live. It takes courage to say, I was wrong about the method. That's strength, not weakness.
Mistake 3, a hasty temper.
This is provocation, getting angry at the obstacle, getting angry at the person blocking you. If you are angry, you are blind. Your vision narrows and you can't see the side roads.
The fix is detaching ego, right?
Yes. Detach ego from the outcome. Do not react to insults. React to objectives. If someone cuts you off in traffic, getting angry doesn't get you home faster. It just ruins your mood and raises your blood pressure.
Okay, mistake 4, delicacy of honor.
This is a fascinating one. It's an old-fashioned phrase. It refers to being too sensitive to shame. You don't want to look foolish, so you keep doing the wrong thing because it looks proper or consistent. You stay in a bad job because you don't want to look like a quitter to your friends.
So the fix is what?
Being willing to look foolish temporarily to win permanently. Maybe you have to take a step back to go forward. People might judge you. Let them. Your objective is more important than their opinion.
And finally, mistake 5. Over-solicitude.
This is worry. Hovering, micromanaging, worrying so much about your team or your family that you actually stifle them. You are so afraid of them failing that you don't let them adapt. You try to control every variable.
The fix for that?
Trust the process.
Huh.
Trust your team. Adaptation requires trust. You have to trust that the water will find its way. You can't control every drop.
This has been dense,
Yeah.
but in a really good way. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. From ancient China to ancient Greece to modern habits, it all connects.
Let's summarize. If you are listening to this on your commute or while you're doing the dishes, here are the key takeaways to hold on to.
First, remember that adaptation is changing the method, not the goal. Keep the destination, change the route.
Next, rigidity breaks. Flexibility survives. Don't be the brittle branch.
Next, listen to friction as a signal, not a failure. If it's getting really hard, it might be time to change the tool, not just push harder.
Next, anchor yourself in ethics and calm. Those are your constants in the storm. They don't bend.
Then, adjust the environment, not just your willpower. Make the right choice the easy choice.
And don't forget to avoid the 5 faults. Watch out for your ego and your temper. They are the enemy of good strategy.
And finally, be like water. Formless yet irresistible.
I feel calmer just saying that. Be like water.
It is a lifetime practice, not a one-time decision.
Before we go, I want to plant a seed for our next conversation. We talked a lot about honesty and ethics today, but Sun Tzu also has that famous line, all warfare is based on deception.
That is a controversial line, and one that gets misused a lot.
It is. So in our next one, we are going to dive into deception, clarity, and misdirection, the ethics line.
The big question will be, when is hiding the truth strategy, and when is it a lie? Where is the line between privacy and dishonesty?
It's going to be a spicy one. You don't want to miss it.
I am really looking forward to that discussion.
Me too. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
See you next time.